and welcome to The Bond, the show which connects you to nature and sustainability. So, we would like to bring you today to Riverside, California. Now, Riverside is a great history of transportation innovation. And back in the 1870s, Eliza Tibbet was granted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture an orange. I believe it was a Baha'i variety. It was sweet and seedless, the first of its kind. And so she began to grow it, and it became very popular. But as it became popular, the population of Riverside grew. And as the population of Riverside grew, so did the needs for advanced transportation. And so at that time, they developed transportation for supporting the citrus variety. The very first orange that you might be familiar with was called the Washington Navel. It was said that Luther, her husband, wanted to honor the very first president of the United States by naming it that. Others gossip, and they say that the local cities and the towns around that area were jealous that Riverside actually started it, but they put in the effort to grow it on their vast properties of land, and so did not want it called the Riverside Orange. And so that is why it's called the Washington Navel today. But as that citrus industry grew, the need for transportation made it so important for Riverside to really look into what is the most cutting edge technology of transportation. And today, Riverside opened yet another chapter in the innovation of transportation. Today, we're going to be talking with Zayn of Ohimo, which is a company based out of New Zealand, but they've decided to settle in their Southern California location of Riverside, California, and build electric, autonomous vehicles for public transportation. So let's have a chat with Zayn. Zayn, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Fantastic. We're so glad that you're here, and thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to find out a little bit more about this deal that you have with Riverside. I understand it impacts UCR, University of California, Riverside, as well as Cal Baptist. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about it.
Yeah, most certainly. So Ohimo has been around for quite a while now, since our inception in 2016. We've had a lot of projects across the world, in Asia, in our base of Australia and New Zealand, and in Europe. But one of the things that our founders were really looking for is, okay, how do we start expanding into the US market? And one of the things that we learned quickly and early on, a couple of years ago now, was, for Ohimo to be a thriving company here in the United States, we really need to have what's Buy America compliance, which means American-made vehicles. So that's really what brings us to California and Riverside in particular. Our team, founder Mohammed Hikmet and our CEO Dean a couple of years ago went to the Select USA conference and spoke to a number of different cities, different chambers of commerce, toured a number of different places across the United States, and we landed on Riverside, California, which we're ecstatic about and very, very happy about. So, why we chose Riverside, I could tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I'd love to know why. I mean, why was Riverside picked? It's in Southern California. It's one of the biggest counties in Southern California. But did you make your agreement with Riverside County or Riverside City?
Well, it was with the city of Riverside.
Okay.
So the city of Riverside is a city of arts and innovation, right? And what we saw when we met with them, and we met with the University of California, Riverside, and they introduced us to the Chamber of Commerce there, and they showed a real willingness to bring Ohimo to their city. They wanted to bring more innovations and jobs to their city, and really build an ecosystem around clean air, clean environment, and clean transportation. So all those motivations, along with having a fantastic mayor and a great bunch of council members, all of that, and the abundance of universities in Riverside, which means hey, we could do a lot of cross collaborations with these universities moving into the future. All of those really hit home for us. And then the sweet spot was for our founders, our CEOs. A lot of our resources are right now based in New Zealand, right? New Zealand and Australia.
Right.
Coming to California is just one flight. But if we had picked somewhere like New York or Florida, it would be at least 2 flights, if not more. So
easy transportation.
Yeah, all of those things really made sense for Ohimo to select Riverside.
I think that's fantastic. Was there ever any sort of consideration about a cultural impact with people considering a public transportation format that did not have a human driver? So it's an autonomous vehicle, which means there's no driver operating it. Was there any discussion about how that cultural impact might occur?
Yes and no. I mean, at this point, we've been doing business for 7 years or so. So those kind of hurdles we've already tackled in other markets where we've addressed the same challenges of okay, what's the cultural impact? How do we get our customers or early adopters onto these vehicles and make them comfortable?
Yeah.
So all of those little challenges didn't really come into play this time around, just because we've tackled it in the past. And we've really learned to, work with the local transport authorities, regardless of whether in California, New York, or in Asia and Europe, to really bring them into the conversation, work with the city planners and transportation planners of the cities, and really kind of cross-collaborate with them. And that's what this is really all about.
And maybe Riverside people as a whole are more willing to embrace innovation and technology, and maybe they're willing to be a trendsetter for the other cities as well. So going back to your comment about how you were compliant with the Buy American philosophy, can you tell me about roughly how long is it going to be for you to develop the factory and have that factory operational and actually producing these vehicles in Riverside?
So we've secured the building, so that's really exciting. That's an exciting development we've had in the last couple of months. Today I was working on city permitting to get the signs up on the building. So
you're active every day.
Things are in motion. But beyond that, over the next couple months, it's going to be a very busy time for us, where we're getting things set up, getting machinery in place, and making sure they're operating the right way.
Yeah.
But we hope to have it up and running, but towards the end of the year, where we will deliver the first 3 vehicles, from made in America to Riverside, California.
So then once you have those vehicles running and fully operational, can you tell me, are they only going to be operating in Riverside to and from the colleges, or will they be public transportation to other places like Tyler Galleria or the Riverside Plaza or some of those other main central hubs?
Yeah, good question.
Even the castle. The castle is mini golf.
so right now, we're still kind of working that out with the city and the city planners in terms of where they want the vehicles operational. But yes, we've kind of talked about having a campus circulator around one or two of the universities, if not 3. And we've also kind of drafted a few others within the city where there's going to be continuous circulators for public transport. But we haven't really pinned down exactly where these vehicles are going to go just yet. But we're kind of working on it with the city right now.
So when you said 3 colleges, I was under the impression it was just UCR and Cal Baptist. Are you saying that RCC, Riverside Community College, might also be one of the other options?
Potentially.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So then let me ask you this. Going with concentric circles going out, what if another city, a neighboring city, Corona, San Bernardino, Orange County, Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, what if they want to get autonomous vehicles? What would the process be? Do they get that do they pick up a vehicle in Riverside, or how does that work?
Well, they could. Usually with autonomous technology such as ours, there's a little bit more planning ahead of time. It's not really kind of like going to your regular dealer shop, picking up the keys and driving off, right? But essentially what would happen is they would get in touch with someone like me or someone in my team. And they talk to us a little bit more about the project that they're working on. What are they trying to do with these vehicles? Are they taking people from a local bus station or a transport station to the stadium or something along those lines, or a campus circulator or retirement home, community village. The opportunities are endless, right?
Right.
Might be in an airport. It just really depends what the city specifically looking to do and how they're looking to deploy these sorts of vehicles. And once they kind of talk to us and give us their plans, our team of experts also work with them and say, hey, you know what? This application might best be served by doing so-and-so, while application B, you might want to have this type of vehicle and this type of speed and so forth. So it's a really collaborative process. But once we kind of hone in on what they're trying to do and we kind of design it in a way we know it's going to work, then yeah, they can have all the vehicles they need.
Now, are you doing more than just manufacturing these vehicles and possibly making these arrangements with other cities? Are you also helping people understand how to fix these vehicles if they go wrong? I mean, like what level of training and support after the vehicle is sold do you plan on providing?
Yeah, so there's extended warranty on the vehicles, of course. So we support the really technical stuff, but we do also train, the local unions, say the transit agency unions and things like that are operating vehicles like these.
Yeah.
How to kind of maintain the vehicles, best practices, how to do kind of minor fixes and things like that. For more, really advanced changes of the vehicle or repairs, we'd probably send out one of our technicians to kind of oversee something like that. But in terms of training, this technology isn't really designed to just, make it completely autonomous without a safety attendant or something like that. And at present, right? A lot of these deployments still have a safety officer or safety attendant on board to kind of help. So we trained them on how to oversee the vehicle, how to help monitor it, and what other roles can they have, right? We help them in terms of it's creating a lot of new jobs. The autonomous vehicle space is creating a lot of new jobs. So we're also training that ecosystem as well.
Okay, so it's a driverless car, but there still is a human on board who is trained in a lot of things. They just have a different role, a different job description. So you're actually creating more jobs for the humans while you're also being sustainable. Am I getting that right?
That's pretty close, yeah. So there's still a safety attendant on board that can help passengers on and off the vehicle, can kind of guide them. It's also more customer focused or more customer centric in that sense, where they don't have the primary responsibility of sitting on a bus for 8 hours and manually driving it. So they can kind of turn their attention towards the riders and kind of help in a more customer centric way. But there's also a whole other set of jobs, like remote monitoring of these vehicles as well. So if you don't have a safety attendant on board, there's going to need to be a team of people remote monitoring these vehicles, checking in on their status, even maybe manually moving and maneuvering those vehicles in small sections as well.
I think that's interesting. Now, I think our audience would love to find out more, but we need to take a short break. So stay with us, and we'll be right back after this.
The Ohimo lift shuttle is designed to drive itself using very accurate positioning from corrected GPS and using sensors like LiDAR sensors to identify any objects that are in the path of the vehicle.
The bus has arrived. Please get on the bus.
I thought that's pretty cool, a bit sci-fi-ish.
We grew up thinking about one day maybe that'll happen, but it all seems a bit futuristic.
You don't think that this sort of stuff's actually being produced now?
Some of the most important users of these types of transport are the people with various disability types and the elderly.
People don't realize that bus drivers actually do a lot, and it's all these human factors that if you take the driver out, you need to come up with a solution.
So we really need to understand how people like that are going to use these vehicles and understand the challenges that they're going to face.
I know this could be beneficial for me, but not knowing how safe it would be for me.
And whether there's enough room for ambulant people and people in wheelchairs.
So I had some concerns about how easy it would be to get on and off.
If it's going to be easy to find the door, and if the bus is going to stop near me.
Because the bus is so quiet, it can potentially face a problem for visually impaired people.
My main thing is looking at the app and seeing how well it works and how easy I'd be able to access it. See, I'm legally blind, so I'd need a screen reader, be able to do it by voice.
So thanks for coming. We'd like to know what is your experience of this vehicle. What do you think about the concept? How do you feel? How do you feel using it? Do you feel comfortable?
Click go to start the bus.
This will be an app and not everybody will have access to it, only people with disability who need it.
So by clicking this button, we can choose the destination.
Next stop Eiffel Tower.
I found that the app was quite straightforward and simple to use. You could actually choose how long the door would stay open for.
The door is closing now.
It would allow enough time for you to get into the bus and find a seat.
I did feel in control.
Made me feel like I was in control. Definitely the use of the voice to control the app.
Having a system that I can control and manage myself is great. That's probably my most frustrating part of disability, having to rely on other people.
All of this functionality is already in the screen as well. Here we have the map and the position of the bus at the moment.
So getting on and off this driverless bus, it doesn't concern me any more than getting on and off a regular bus.
Getting on there, I seemed to feel comfortable. I almost forgot that there was no driver.
Absolutely amazing concept, as in you can feel secure in it, you can work out easily how to use the app, and you can feel comfortable in the vehicle knowing that it's also going to stop if it needs to stop. Sophie found it quite comfortable. She enjoyed, just sitting in it, and it had quite enough room, which was good.
Yeah, it was very smooth. I know, especially normal buses, it can get a bit rocky.
People with disability, elderly and so forth can hop on one of these outside their house and takes them to some sort of mass transit such as a bus station or interchange or a railway station.
So something like this would be really beneficial for me because I could drive to a fixed point and then get myself around the city.
I think it's a great idea. I think it'll work very well in areas like here at Sydney Olympic Park. I think it'll work well in airports and areas where there are structured road layouts.
Just in the last year or so, people are actually starting to see how they'll provide real viable transport services. So the future is looking really good for these types of vehicles at the moment.
To everybody that's involved in this, whether it be the designers of these shuttles, the researchers, mate, keep doing it. All challenges can be overcome, and I think that the more consultation we do with people that'll be using this type of technology will only greatly benefit the end product and make sure that it's a safe mode of transport for everybody.
So Zayn, we're back and we are very excited to learn more about these autonomous electric vehicles, which are great for the environment being built in Riverside with your company, Ohimo. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. Is that the right way to say it? Could you say it for me again?
Ohimo.
Ohimo. Okay. So, Mio. Okay. Sounds a little Italian. Exactly. But how would you win over a skeptical customer who says, I am not stepping foot on that thing?
That's okay. Hey, there's early adopters and there's folks that are a little bit later on, right?
Okay.
What it really comes down to is, observe it from a far distance that you feel is safe. look at the vehicles operate, ask your friends that have ridden them and kind of see what they thought. And then when you're brave enough to get on one of these vehicles, I encourage you to do so.
Okay.
And what you will find very, very quickly is it's kind of boring. And that's what a safe vehicle should be, right?
Okay.
You get used to it very quickly and you find that, hey, this is just like a regular driver. And you kind of forget that there's no driver on the vehicle.
Okay, so you're helping people tiptoe into the future. But what about if they're concerned that there's driverless, it might turn into a big party bus. It's a shuttle, sure, but how do you avoid people sneaking out and doing naughty things aboard? So how do you handle that?
The younger person, like the younger me, would have thought that as well, right?
Oh, okay.
So, no, but
the party bus.
Well, there's a lot of things in place that kind of stop that from happening, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of remote monitoring happening in these vehicles as well. So even if there's no safety attendant on the vehicle itself, we're going to be able to see, or our team's going to be able to see what's going on these vehicles. There's two-way communications on these vehicles as well.
Oh,
and
so
you can bring it to a stop as well if you really want to smell the body, right?
So you could drive it in front of the police station and say, "Get out."
And there you go. That's another one for you.
Excellent, excellent. So can you tell me a little bit about how, or if you've gotten any examples about how you've contributed to cleaning up the air, to making the environment better or cleaner?
So when it comes to the environment, the air is just one part of it, right?
Okay.
I mean, the vehicles are electric, so there's no emissions on the vehicles or on the route that the vehicles are going on. That's first and foremost. So if you start thinking of, okay, well, we have hundreds of these deployed on the road, and we're getting rid of the traditional gas type of shuttle, what does that mean environmentally? But there's another really important aspect, that the U.S. government is working on, and there's a national goal to get to zero roadway fatalities. I think it's by 2045 in the U.S. So there's about over 40,000 deaths on U.S. roads, based on traditional driving and things like that. So when we're talking about an environment where these vehicles can really add a lot of safety, is also, being a safer way to commute, right? Having sensors on board, having connected vehicles essentially means we're making the roadways in general safer. And I think that's a really important aspect that doesn't get talked about enough.
So is this for people who are riding skateboards and bicycles on the road, or is this for pedestrians that accidentally get hit by cars? When you say zero fatality and that this vehicle can help reduce that number of fatalities, which type of thing are you addressing?
So you're addressing the traditional driver behind the wheel that might have their cell phone in one hand and driving with the other.
Right.
But you're also, there's also, your pedestrians and cyclists and things like that are on our road. So it's kind of the entire ecosystem and the entire environment that I'm talking about.
So you're saying that there's going to be like little sensors on board that will be able to sort of sweep electronically outside the exterior of the body in order to say, here's a pedestrian, now I'm going to put on the brakes. There's somebody coming by. Okay.
Yeah, and depending on how close they are, if they're in the vicinity, the vehicle will know to slow down. But if they're really close and in the right of way, it might decide to slam the brakes, right? So yes, of course, that's all been worked out.
And how often do you evaluate your design? You say you've been in business for about 7 or so years, right? So how frequently do you evaluate your design or your battery design? Do you embrace material science innovations in order to say it's time for an improvement? And how would that impact Riverside if they're a factory? Like, would you need to come in and retool, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, the technology is rapidly changing. The battery packs are rapidly changing. The sensor fusion kits that we're putting on the vehicles, there's new changes and new innovations constantly happening. So I'm not personally responsible for that. I leave that.
You're
to
not
our
responsible
smart,
for everything?
No. So I leave that to the smarter people at Ohimo,
Okay.
the R&D folks and things like that. That have a pretty rigorous way of looking at what new technologies are out there. How can they be all incorporated in our current software and software stack and things like that? Mm-hmm. And when it makes sense, we make those changes and make modifications that make the vehicles better and more prepared for other scenarios or other road use cases as well.
Are you able to recharge these vehicles remotely? Are you able to do
It's
that?
an early innovation right now. You kind of have to plug it in to recharge these vehicles.
Okay.
Kind of like you would do with a Tesla or any other electric vehicle. But there are innovations in place where there's conductive or inductive charging platforms out there. Hopefully in the future, you could.
So that's going to be one of your future innovations on your checklist. Well, I think that's fantastic. How would you educate communities about the new etiquette that's going to be needed on board a public transportation vehicle? And what is your role in helping Riverside do that education?
So educationally speaking, it's again all about collaboration, right?
Okay.
It's about talking to the community that's firstly going to be using this technology or is going to have access to this technology, and educating them on kind of why this technology is important and the benefits that it's offering them. Because of course, the idea of having these autonomous vehicles isn't just having it as a campus circulator, but it's also what we call a first mile, last mile solution. So think about those last miles that a traditional bus doesn't go. A lot of those times, those communities are socioeconomically disadvantaged as well. So what it means is, with these sorts of vehicles, we're going to be able to send them out further and serve communities that are not right now underserved. So there's a lot of education that can be done and that will be done over time as adoption grows, right? But right now, we're focused on where the deployments are, where the projects are, and educating that community itself.
But the next step is alerting people that they have access to this resource. Are you going to have the same sort of bus stops that people and shuttle stops that people have today? Or is the stop itself also going to be a new design?
So right now we want to use the existing ecosystem, right?
Okay.
So we don't want to go and reinvent the entire wheel. We want to have our solution fit in within what's already existing and working and just really expand on that, right? So hopefully within the same ecosystem.
And part of your education, not only to the community, but also to existing people who are working in the gasoline-powered public transportation vehicles, informing them on how they can learn new skills in order to help support this new mode of transportation. Is that right?
Yep. Well, that comes down to, having conversations with the local unions that are operating these vehicles and saying, hey, well, technologies are changing, the environment is changing. Have a look at this. This is what we've done in this part of the world, in this part of the world. We'd love for you to be involved. We'd love for you folks to kind of come into kind of what we're doing and learn all about it and kind of just be involved.
So is it possible it might be a unionized occupation then with Ohio?
I would say so. A lot of it will be both, right? Some will be unionized and some won't be, but for the transport agencies that are unionized, we'd love for that workforce to actually be involved in that, right? We'd love for them to come in and embrace this and be the operators as opposed to just have Ohio operate and develop and manufacture. So we'd love to partner with them.
Well, and also they're going to have to teach other cities how to do this. So they're going to be in demand. The early adopters are going to become the experts, and then the experts will be in demand to help educate other people, sort of a domino effect.
Exactly.
So, well, I think that's fantastic. I mean, you've really educated me, and I think you've educated our audience with such a wonderful, futuristic, realistic innovation that's going to be hitting our transportation in Riverside, at Riverside City and Riverside County possibly. So I want to say thank you so much, Zayn, for joining us today. And is there anything else that you want to finish up on, or any last thoughts?
Well, it's a pleasure to be involved in your show, so thank you for inviting me. If the audience have some questions, find us on LinkedIn. That's usually where we're most active.
Okay.
You can find me on LinkedIn as well. More than happy to connect. And hey, come to the city of Riverside, ride one of these vehicles, and let me know what you think.
And become a true believer.
There you go.
Right? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Zayn, for joining us. We really appreciate it. So I wanted to say, Zayn of Ohimo showed us the power of innovation and using technology and sustainability to make the world a better place and to make the future a little bit brighter in Riverside, who's going to be leading the way for other cities in the Southern California area. We talked about the environmental impact and also the economic benefits, about how they are compliant with Buy American, and also welcoming unions and discussions in order to make sure that people on traditional gasoline-powered vehicles in public transportation can transition over to autonomous vehicles. So just because there's no driver does not mean there's no jobs. So there's going to be expansion plans in the future. And of course, safety and innovation is always useful, especially when educating the public as well as other people who are used to doing the gasoline-powered method. So I just want to say thank you so much to Ohimo for sharing a lot of the different information. You can see on screen that there's going to be some contact information for you if you want to find out a little bit more. And of course, stop by Riverside in Southern California and see if you want to take a trip yourself. And with that, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. Remember to do something kind to someone today, and also we'll bond again another time. So until we bond again, we'll see you next time.